Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are glad to have you before your screens this evening to follow what we have as package for you for this edition of the program. Today we are going to be looking at the economy of the Northwest and the Southwest region in the context of the ongoing Anglophone crisis, given that these two regions have been described or announced by the Prime Minister of this country, PM John Guti, as economic disaster regions, trying to provide some concessions to business persons and providing greater incentives so that the more and more people can want to go establish and do business in these two regions. We look at the possibilities and what has actually been destroyed with proposals that we are going to be making at the end of the program as to how to better the current situation, especially for the economic operators that are operating within these two regions. We are going to be discussing on this topic with our panelists who are in the house. Mofo George is in the house with us this evening. He is an economic expert. He is an expert on issues of development. He is a consultant with very many caps. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Kum Leonard, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. Good evening to your viewers and good evening to the other panelists.
Tamfu Jones is the Secretary General of a political outfit that operates in Cameroon called Modekna. He equally is going to be part of our discussions this evening. Good evening and welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Kum, and good evening to all televiewers and good evening to our fellow panelists. It's always a pleasure to come here and share my views on seeing how we contribute to nation building.
While we await the arrival of Kiven Brenda, who should be on her way, we are welcoming for the very first time Song Derrick. He's a member of civil society, very interested on political issues. He's appearing on this platform for the very first time. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Kum Leonard. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's necessary for us like youths to contribute to nation building and why not speak the way forward.
Okay, we hope that we are going to speak the way forward for the betterment of our community and nation as a whole. Since we are still in the spirit of dialogue that is making rounds, making news around the nation, Mofo George, pre-talks are ongoing. Good footing?
It had to be. I said somewhere in another platform that stones don't talk to themselves, trees don't talk to themselves, but human beings are definitely created to be talking to each other. And but what is of essence now is not just the talk. Let us actually see the situations on the ground being reversed, because I think the talking had been going on, especially requesting for a dialogue to be called, and the dialogue has been called. So now we want to actually see more of people not talking, but actually preparing themselves to see how they will reverse the current situation.
Okay. Are you satisfied already with what is being done by the Prime Minister meeting traditional authorities, administrative, amongst other authorities, meeting political leaders and a host of others? It seems as if today, or it appears, he was received today by the President of the National Assembly. Would you say that is what is expected from the Prime Minister?
I will say it is either what is expected or what is not expected. But the truth is that we are at the point whereby we will hang even on the tail of a snake, hoping for survival. So any initiative that is directed towards achieving an expected goal, which is peace, I think that it should be appreciated.
Okay. You are also very concerned with the ongoing dialogue since it was announced by the President of the Republic and the Prime Minister is already at work. Do you think there are certain things that you fear for?
There are a lot of things, Mr. Kum, I must tell you, that I fear for. And my greatest fear is that these people should not put off fire with dry leaves. Because if they do that, it's going to come back to ravage and even cause more disaster. I think that, well, let's hope that John Gute will talk to the right people, because if they don't talk to the right people, like I said, they will put off flames with dry leaves. And if the fire wants to come back again, it's going to be so disastrous. I beg too that if he is talking, he should talk to the people that control the ground, that control what we popularly call ground zero. Because if they consult just the chiefs, we all know that the chiefs have lost a lot of authority on ground zero, and different persons are controlling them. So I want to beg the Prime Minister that if he wants to do that, he should be talking to people who control the ground, and of course, he should be sincere and open, because we need honesty and truth. Because if we don't speak the truth and we are not honest, we're going to be wasting our time and then going around the same circles all the time.
You want the right persons to be talked to or with. Who are those controlling ground zero?
Those who control ground zero, we know that there is no way we can separate the Anglophone Cameroon from the diaspora. There is no way we can do that. And the truth be told, if somebody can be in prison and write a communique that it should be ghost town and people respect, it means that person has a lot of authority. I want to think that His Excellency, so they call Ayuk Julius Sisisiku.
Okay, they call him His Excellency.
So they call as a president.
Okay.
Yes. He controls the ground, and most of his...
He has been impeached, yeah?
Yes, he has been impeached, and most of his diaspora acolytes, they do control the ground. But we want to think that if the government really wants to talk to people, he should talk to those people. He should open the dialogue forum so wide, and then we should go to the dialogue with a very open mind, ready to receive what some people have once described as a taboo. We should be ready to talk about it and convince ourselves to live together, if it is possible.
Convince ourselves to live together if it is possible. Mr. Mofo George, when you look at the economic situation of the Northwest and the Southwest region, was it possible for the economy to have survived what is going on in these two regions?
What a question. No economy can survive in a case of in a state of chaos. Talk less of an economy that is sort of very fragile, which is the particular situation of economy of what we generally refer to as developing economy, or underdeveloped economy, if you want us to be extremists. But you see again, up initio, an economy that is fragile, that is structured and reliance on agriculture, and then it jumped from agriculture to what they call the tertiary sector without going through the secondary sector. It tells you that if people are disabled because they don't have the energy to go to their farms, the people who are in the tertiary sector would not even have the stability, talk less of the brain to create some of those services which are required to make the cash flow to be moving from one angle to another. But you see, when I look at the theme of the topic this evening, which is Northwest, Southwest economic disaster regions, difficult times for economic operator, I want to say, in as much as the economic operators who could be said to be the victim of the particular situation, and on the other hand could also benefit if they are also very proactive with the situation now that it is formalized that Southwest and Northwest is termed an economic disaster zone, and which is part of the General Tax Code that requires that once a particular area is circumscribed and described as an economic disaster zone, they give now extra incentives, they provide now facilities that is not operationalized in other sectors where they don't have the same calamity befalling them. So I want to say the disaster nature of the Southwest and the Northwest does not only affect the economic operators, it affects the social sector, it affects the religious sector, and even if you want to push it, it goes beyond the boundary of Southwest and Northwest region, because if you imagine that you used to have people who come right from foreign countries to the farms in Muyuka, and some going right up to the farms in Santa and the rest to buy vegetable and food crops. It tells you that while the effects can be seen as localized, I think the impact is globalized. So in situations like this, we can now say that those people who were doing intra or international trade as economic operators, they have very, very difficult times now, because they cannot also satisfy their consumers because of the fact that they cannot have access to those food crops and other, what I don't always like that identification that they call certain crops cash crops, because I don't know whatever that means. But as of now, I think every economic operator, if you go by what Hishikam presented as statistics for as 2018, it is terrible and very, very terrible. And you don't even need to be told, you just need to go to the Southwest and Northwest, and you see the number of stops or shops which are closed when they just hear of a rumor of tax drive, before talk less of the other lockdown, which the people are still unfortunately accepting to, I don't know whether it's by fright or by volition to still lock their shops. Because I'm sure as we're talking about here today, there was still ghost town
across the two regions.
In those two regions. So it's a paradox that we can be sitting here and saying that there's an economic disaster for economic operators, and while they are also still subjecting themselves to lockdowns or what they call them, ghost towns, or whatever that means. So I don't want to cry more than a bereaved.
Okay.
That's my take.
Okay, we are having an information that we thought we should share with you televiewers if you are watching us right now. The document that says planning prévisionnel des consultations du Premier ministre chef du gouvernement en prélude au grand dialogue national convoqué par le président de la République. We've not had the English version, so we make do with what we have. The importance is for us to give you the information. So these are some of the instances that are supposed to meet with the Prime Minister as a prelude to the announced dialogue. We have mardi 17 septembre, mardi past.
Tomorrow is 17 or
17, okay. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will be receiving the Secretary General of the CPDM at 2:30, and then we have Conseil National de la Jeunesse. We're talking about youths here. They're going to be received tomorrow. We have Union des Journalistes du Cameroun. We don't know who are going to represent us. So journalists are equally going to be received tomorrow. And then political parties on Wednesday, you have here the UNDP, you have the UPC, you have the MRC, you have the FNSC, you have the UDP, you have the MDR and ANDP. And then as from 5 o'clock or this Saturday, they say autre parti politique. And then for political leaders or leader d'opinion, On Thursday, we have Cabral Libi, you have Joshua Osi, you have Gaga Haman Aji, you have Nzifo Afanui, Franklin, and you have Lundi on the 23rd of September, we have délégation de l'Adamawa, délégation de la région du centre, délégation de la région de l'Est. Okay, on Monday next week, the Prime Minister is going to be receiving different delegations from across the 10 regions. And then on Tuesday next week, he's going to be receiving diplomatic missions to Cameroon, starting with the ambassador of the United States of America. We have the ambassador of France, the High Commissioner, British High Commissioner. We have Serge Espoir Matomba, okay, that is for political parties. Akere Muna, Christian Kadinatumi, those are for opinion leaders. And then Clergé, Syndicats et Associations, that's Friday this week. We have président de la conférence épiscopale de l'Église catholique. We have président de la conférence musulmane, président de la conférence des églises protestantes, bureau exécutif du Conseil national des chefs traditionnels. We have syndicat des enseignants, syndicat des transporteurs urbains, interurbains, association des femmes, Bayam Selam, association des commerçants. And then we have chambre consulaire, secteur privé, ordres nationaux et universitaires. We have Saturday, we have CAPEV, JICAM et CAMECAM, Syndustricam. We have APICAM. We have président des ordres nationaux, des avocats, huissiers de justice et notaires. So these are the persons who are expected to have discussions with the Prime Minister in prelude to the announced dialogue. Traditional authorities are going to be there. Delegations are going to come from the Northwest and the Southwest, from the littoral and all 10 regions. You're smiling. Something I miss?
Not all surmise are surmise. Some, a man, while you cry, the tears fall within. Don't fall with that. So the list is a good one. I sense a national dialogue, as the head of state said, because he made mention that there's no marginalization of the Anglophones, and a national inclusive dialogue has been organized. And all people from all walks of life have been invited, from what I'm seeing there.
Yeah,
and
even the task force, the Southwest Northwest Women Task Force, they expected.
That is it.
What
that
about
is it.
the armed
No, I was to come there because Mr. Song said earlier here that we should not try to quench a fire with dry leaves. With dry leaves, yes. Because now, the question that comes to mind, what caused the international community to call for dialogue that
No, but this is not a dialogue, eh? Who says that the armed groups are not going to be represented? This is a prelude.
It is a prelude, which means that this prelude gives a picture of what the dialogue will look like. Now we talk of the association of Bayam Selam. How will they be represented? Will they carry the president of the regional president of all Bayam Selam in Cameroon to go and fill the hall and talk together? Or how are they going to organize it? When they organize the Bayam Selam, who is the president of the National Bayam Selam Association? Is she going to understand the problems of all the Cameroonians in every part of Cameroon? That's the question that is.
What are you really saying? They are going to talk about what affects them.
What I'm saying is that now we are talking about national dialogue. I asked the question: if we talk about national dialogue here, what brought the issue of dialogue on the ground? That is what we should be facing, because before the international community came out and was asking for the
Anglophones not part of the Bayam.
Anglophones are not the people calling for lockdown.
Watered down.
Anglophones are not the people calling for war.
Okay,
the people who are having arms in the bushes are the people bringing trouble.
Okay, that was
and I've not seen any of their
that was information that we got, and we thought that we should share with our televiewers to say that a list of associations circles have already been chosen to meet with the Prime Minister beginning tomorrow as in prelude to the announced dialogue. But we must also note that the Prime Minister already started consultations with the SDF, with ministers from the Northwest and Southwest region, with the governors of the Northwest and Southwest region, alongside other traditional authorities, and the President of the National Assembly. So, but my question to you is, given the capital place that the CDC occupies in the economy of the Northwest and the Southwest region, could this structure not be spared by both parties to ensure that it survives?
Come again with your question clearly, I don't get it very well.
Could those fighting not have spared the CDC, given that it holds a very important place in the overall economy of the Southwest and Northwest regions?
Yeah, they could have spared it, but since we are not the ones to decide on how they think, so you cannot, we can only sit here and then we give our own suggestion and hope they agree with us and then maybe spare it, which is already late, because if you go there now, I think to bring that plantation back to life, it will take enough money. So
now what I'm saying is,
when people are fighting, there's one thing that we must understand, because when they talk about dialogue, I heard someone, it's Cardinal Toomey, who said that people should be ready to hear the evil things that means what they consider taboo. Yeah, and it's very true, because in a fight, when you fight with somebody, you don't punch where the person will be happy. You punch where the person will feel the pain.
CDC,
I'm saying the CDC with the government is the highest employer. With the population, we are the one being employed. So the CDC is good for everybody. Now, when we talk about the economic part of it, when the CDC is crippled, who suffer the pains? The little population that is employed and paid 25,000 francs a month, or the Cameroon economy in general, and the government that gets cash from the company. That's what we should be talking about here. Who feels the pains much? Now, if the other party thinks that this person is enjoying from this cooperation and decides to hit from there so that the person will feel the pains, then maybe that's how the people may be thinking.
If I may ask you, who feels the pains the most? The government?
I think you should judge by yourself. I told you that these people, the people who are working there, they have the salaries, maybe 35,000, even though we have the managers who receive good salaries. How many of them are there? Who eats the majority of the money from the CDC? Maybe they will be the person to feel the greatest share of the pains.
So you
it is true both parties will feel the pains.
You think the workers who are paid 35,000 francs a month are happy that the corporation is down because they are not benefiting enough?
I say both parties have the pains, but one of the parties must have the greater share of the pains.
Okay. Consequences of on the people of Ndian, you vest with Pamol. That was the key life wire of the people of Ndian Division, the Southwest, and Cameroon as a whole. It played a key part. Now, can we measure what the people have lost because of the fact that this company has not been functioning for over 2 years now?
I want to think that what that country or what the company has lost is immeasurable. It's quite alarming because Pamol has been down for quite a long time. You know that Pamol deals with, my elder brother says here, he doesn't want the word cash crop. Permit me use the word cash crop here. He deals with palms and sometimes rubber. And you know that it's something that is produced every month. And if Pamol has been, I happen to have done my internship in Pamol.
Okay. And
truly Pamol deals with annual turnovers, you talk about billions. And if we could say that, even on an average from the economic perspective, if you say that Pamol has just 10 million every month, if Pamol doesn't function for a month, 10 million times 12 times 3 years, you know the effect. And the people who have gone there without working. But nonetheless, sometimes I think that there is always a reason for what happens. Because the consequences are alarming, yet those we think should have done something so fast to remedy the situation, nothing is happening. The status quo still remains the same. and the people are indeed, they are indeed very, very much affected.
Those we think were supposed to do something to save palm oil did not do it. What did you want who to do what to save palm oil?
Addressing still the government. If
you
we really have,
you wanted the government to send 5,000 troops to palm oil to secure it?
Troops, a situation that never needed one troop.
Okay.
What is a troop going to do there? People survived without troops before.
That was not a military problem.
It was not a military problem.
It
was a political problem that was militarized, that was made to have military solution.
Now,
nonetheless,
okay.
With that, when we say salvage, you know, there is a difference. When I was opportune to read a bit of marketing in school, we say, you solve a problem. The best way to solve a problem is to identify the problem. Mm-hmm. If you don't identify the problem, you'll be solving the symptoms. And when the symptoms are solved, the problem comes back. Mm-hmm. This is to say that if your child came back home and said that a nail has pierced my leg, what you should do is struggle to remove that nail. If you tell the child, stop crying before I remove the nail, and you take a stick and you're following the child falls and have a wound in the hand. If you are carrying the child to the hospital, that the doctor should have a stitch on the hand, it's not the solution. When the doctor will stitch the hand, the nail will be there. And there will become a point in time where you want to look at the real problem. The nail has entered the leg, and then rust has attacked the leg, and you are attempted to cut off the leg. So the government would have approached this thing from the holistic point of view by looking at the detailed problem. What is the cause? How can we do this thing? Because
yeah, but you say, let me cure in, you say it's, the problem is political. Now, if the problem is political, why bring palm oil that is doing its business into it?
Like my brother said there rightly, that the people who are fighting, they have a reason for attacking what they attack. I'm not in their minds, but truth be told, they have a reason for attacking what they attack. Palm oil is a business that pays tax to the government. The government is the one that buys arms to the military, and the military is the one that militarizes the environment. They have their hidden agendas. They can best explain, and you better understand more than me.
I don't understand.
So what I'm saying is, if the government should have allowed...
I don't understand why a purely business venture should be brought into a political fight.
No, when you look at this, let me tell you something. It's very clear. There's no reason beating about the bush. Palm oil pay taxes to the government. It's a source of income to the government. The people who work, let me just say, for instance, presently, one of the chairs of palm oil is... the governor of Southwest region. Yeah. He's a chair. And I want to tell you, he has been a thorn to the flesh of some people. He has been a thorn.
Okay. When you say the move is targeting the government, what becomes of the thousands of people working for palm oil? What becomes of their children?
It's a pathetic situation in that case, because the people are really suffering in that situation. But
can we understand this targeting the government and little regard for how people survive? How have the people in Lobe Estate, in Ekolo Titi, how would they be surviving all these years?
No, well, I want to say in the beginning, it was not a war against those economic structure. Yeah. Unfortunately, those economic structures find themselves in the geographical space, and that is what they call in World Economics collateral destruction. They never went out that they were going to burn down those structures like CDC or palm oil. It just happens that these guys are fighting, and it happens that the terrain that they are using, you also have rubber trees or palm trees and bananas and all of that. But I want to say, in as much, like I started saying off the microphone, that let what is happening now not be a cry die, especially with the announcement of
the Grand National Dialogue?
Dialogue, because before now, if you look at what had been happening in the Northwest and Southwest region, the economic infrastructure had first of all been damaged, most of it, because when we start talking about Powercam, Cameroon Bank, the airport, and all of those places, they were already bad and out of working situation. So what happened now was just probably the last nail that came to finalize the total destruction, which means we might even accuse the war has come to add to what the state had already abandoned, or through conspiracy decided to destroy it. But I think when we look at the second part of the topic, the difficult times for economic operator, then we'll go back now to the whole philosophy behind economic disaster, whereby with the incentives that is actually attracting investors back there with certain conditions, that if they go there to come with a new investment, they will be given some incentives.
Exoneration, tax exoneration.
Includes tax exoneration.
Yeah.
I think that we should rather be highlighting the content of those exoneration and see how within the current legal disposition to inform the average person whose business is still standing up to now, that the fact that the decree has been signed that they are an economic disaster zone and they are going to have those exoneration, it includes only new businesses. If you were operating a business and you are owing taxes and all of that, the government will still come and get those taxes from you because you are a debtor to the government. But what the economic disaster region's prescription is saying is that if you are going to be investing a certain amount of money to create a certain number of jobs, you are going to have exoneration of between 30% of what you are investing, and even some period of waiver of certain taxes like the business license. Patang is actually business license. Patang is in French. Then you have other dues like social insurance dues and other value-added taxes. And that's what this economic disaster decree, based on the general tax code, gives as incentive. So, for people who want to look at what is happening now as a glass that is half full, they should rather take advantage now and see how they can persuade those who are carrying arms that if you can, because I have been saying that the first elements, one of us was saying that you cannot be addressing a problem from the symptoms. One of the real cause of this thing which is happening there is poverty. If most of these people are carrying guns now, they were gainfully employed somewhere, or they had some structured activity that they were occupied, and at the end of the day, they were having something to take back home. They will not have time to be thinking about who is the head of state, or the state, what they call the structure of the state, and all of that. But all of this came from the fact that these guys have gone to school, like other person have gone to school. The region is producing raw material and the rest. What stopped the states from encouraging these same economic operators to invest there, to open a transformation industry? An agro-industrial complex that CCDA has been operating for almost 70 years. They are still exporting fresh palm fruit, exporting rubber, what they call milk from the rubber tree, and all of that. What stopped the states to encourage transformation by importing machines and machinery for us to start producing tires in Cameroon, for us to start producing soap from the oil that is produced from there? So it's based on also bad state economic policies in terms of encouraging. How can you explain that a whole region, and the whole of Northwest region, you cannot count with one hand any transformation in industries? and the rest. If you want to go to the Northwest, the taxation comes from tertiary sector, from taxation from schools and all of that. And they have one of the highest level of scholarization, which means that they would have used this quality graduates to now go into industrialization, and the soil is there, the climate is good, the land is there. There's no reason why somebody should leave Gabon and come and buy tomatoes or cabbage or carrot from a farm. Meanwhile, all of those things could be converted to the implantation of industry. I want to tell people that other countries in Europe developed fastest during war and after war, even though it caused disaster that people die. But up till now, we are still talking about what has been done. Nobody's even thinking, and don't forget that one of the elements of this, what is called dialogue, is I talk about reconstruction. The construction is not going to be going and building those houses that have been destroyed. They will talk about the economic and social fabric or the economic infrastructure. But what are we now putting in place as the architecture, as the plan, to be ready that when this thing gets to normalcy, we should start not talking about the same CDC that we knew before the war. We should talk about the same PAMO that we knew before the war. We talk about some element of real economic infrastructure that will be put in place. And I think that that is where the government should even have, both now after the political dialogue, they should also have an economic restructuring, whatever dialogue for the economic reconstruction of those basic infrastructure that has been burned down or destroyed.
Mr. Mofo George, we move over to the newsroom to gather what stories have made headlines across the nation today.
Being one of more than 200 majors of HIPMAT, I am proud of my success. It all began at HIPMAT.
I am a CEO. I coach and lead a team of salespeople. I don't hesitate to tell them the vision was planted and molded by HIPMAT.
Today, I stand on a pedestal of experienced and committed lecturers. The foundation was laid by HIPMAT.
For over a decade, HIPMAT's credibility and ministerial recognition have trained more than 15,000 professionals in business management and engineering from HND to BTech, MBA, and what have you. With an outstanding partnership with the University of Bamenda for BTech and MBA programs, our undoubted commitment to your show's success is a reflection of the future you painted. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, HIPMAT, a university for professionals.
Seeking a career in agriculture? Consider St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture, where students can build their interest in various farming systems by tailoring their study of agriculture to production, processing, and marketing agribusinesses, making them job providers and not seekers. St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture offers relevant practical education developed and delivered by experts and teachers who believe in teaching by demonstration. St. Louis Complex also offers through its Higher Institute of Medical Studies professional HND in nursing, midwifery, physiotherapy, pharmacy technology, medical lab sciences, dental therapy, radiology, and ultrasonography. We are located at Bonaberin Double opposite Nestle. Contact us on 678-435-138 or 677-764-674.
Wow! Yo, c'est parti avec la rentrée scolaire pour cette année. Are you looking for a good school for your children come September? All road leads to the great Nelson Mandela Bilingual Comprehensive College Bonaberry, which stands tall, with a perfect and conducive environment for studies, very qualified and experienced staff, work-equipped free library services and affordable school fees. Admission for this academic year is currently going on from Mondays to Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Get your child enrolled now, for chances are limited. Le collège Nelson Mandela est situé à Bonaberry Bipele, après la paroisse Saint-Joseph. Contact. Bravo! Vous avez gagné.
Legal practitioners under the Cameroon Bar Association have started their announced sit-in strike despite all measures by the Cameroon government to keep them in the courtroom. The local organizing committee of the CHAN 2020 and 2021 AFCON has been made public. Good evening and thanks for joining us on this edition of Prime News on Night Media Prime. My name is Genda Peldrin Blanche King. To begin the news today, the 5-day sit-in strike held by lawyers in Cameroon has finally begun. Charles Fils Elange went investigating in the nation's economic capital, Douala, and brought back the following details in the French language.
Opération zéro tribunal au Cameroun. Comme l'avaient prévenu les avocats, le mot d'ordre de grève a bel et bien été maintenu ce lundi 16 septembre. Pour en savoir davantage, nous tenterons de faire le tour de quelques tribunaux. Le premier arrêt ici au tribunal de Dokoti va s'avérer vain. Notre présence semble gênée. Le maître des lieux fera dire par un de ses collaborateurs que par mesure de prudence, il ne souhaite pas que nos caméras filment le tribunal. Mais la présence du camion de la prison centrale de Niobel devant cette salle d'audience aiguisera notre curiosité. C'est en caméra cachée que nous prendrons cette image qui laisse croire que malgré la grève observée par les avocats, certaines audiences se seraient tenues. Malheureusement, personne ne veut nous en dire plus. Les prévenus présents ici au tribunal ont-ils été auditionnés ou pas? Si oui, comment et surtout sans la présence de leurs conseils? La question restera pendante jusqu'au départ du camion où une source nous laissera entendre que les audiences ont été renvoyées. Le cas est similaire dans les salles des audiences des conflits sociaux, des renvois pour des dates ultérieures. On comprendra donc qu'il s'agira là de quelques conséquences dues à cette grève des avocats démarrée ce jour et dont, si l'on s'en tient, au communiqué sera prolongé jusqu'à la fin de la semaine. Rappelons que les avocats déplorent la violation de certains droits fondamentaux, des cas de torture, de suspects, de violences physiques sur les avocats et l'arrogance des magistrats. Ces revendications étant connues par le gouvernement, on espère que d'ici là, tout rentrera dans l'ordre, surtout au profit d'une justice plus humaine et équitable.
After all efforts by the Ministry of Justice to get lawyers call off the 5-day sit-in strike went futile, it is now clear the lawyers won't carry out any professional activity per the communique of August 31st, 2019. This is to denounce what they term persistent violation of national and international laws and the non-respect of human rights in Cameroon. Details with Lasha Kinsley.
Lawyers in Cameroon have begun a 5-day sit-in strike today. All efforts by the Ministry of Justice and the keeper of the seals to get lawyers call off the 5-day sit-in strike went futile. They won't carry out any professional activity per the communique of August 31st, 2019. They are standing against what they term persistent violation of national and international laws and the non-respect of human rights in Cameroon. 8 out of 15 members of the Executive Bureau of the Bar Council took the decision in Yaoundé late Sunday. According to the release from the Bar Council dated Sunday, September 15, 2019, a quorum could not be reached as only 8 out of the 15 executive members answered present. However, the lawyers have welcomed the concessions made by the government of Cameroon, but however maintain the strike will go on until further and concrete decisions are taken by the government of the Republic of Cameroon.
We now take you to the southwest region of Cameroon, where traders in Kumba are still worried over the decision of the Kumba City Council to seal shops of persons who respected ghost town calls. As a follow-up of the government delegate, the government delegate visited these shops over the weekend, and traders whose shops were sealed have been asked to pay the sum of 25,000 francs before accessing their shops. Tamfu Sidwan Dimbia reports from Kumba.
This is Ngokele Victor, government delegate to the Kumba City Council, heavily guarded by security officers at the Kumba Commercial Avenue, inspecting whether traders complied with his decision to seize shops of those who respected the imposed lockdown by separatists. Here, the government delegate told traders who had their shops sealed to pay the sum of 25,000 francs CFA before getting access to their business places. Traders become stranded on Saturday morning as the municipal authority informed them that it is a criminal act for them to unseal their shops without getting permission from the authorities. Most of the traders expressed worries as they were all faced with threats from restoration forces not to open their shop during the lockdown days, and they have no money to pay before getting their shops. At his office, the government delegate remained unchanged in his decision and insisted that traders must pay before getting their shops, or they should all turn out on Mondays to carry on their business activities.
Yeah, I was out to see whether the traders of the supermarket have unsealed their shops that were sealed, and I discovered that so many of the stores still remain there with the seal. In fact, it was an appraiser of whether these traders had adhered to what I decided to do, and I realized that most of the traders didn't unseal their shops, and they complain that they don't have money to pay because as they sealed, before you unsealed, you must come to the city council and pay 25,000 francs. And now they are there, they complain that they don't have monies to pay, and that is why their shops remain unsealed. I still expect them to make efforts to come and pay the 25,000 francs and get their stores unsealed.
The situation has remained unchanged despite municipal and administrative decision, as all business places remain closed this Monday, considered as the traditional ghost town day in Kumba. Kumba City seems to be sinking economically as the crisis persists in the war-torn regions of Cameroon.
Still in the southwest region of the country, the Minister of Secondary Education, Dr. Nalova Lyonga, has created more technical colleges, raising some to technical high schools. She was in the southwest region, precisely Limbe and Edinau, to inspect some of the newly created schools, as Echutabot tells us in the following report.
2 weeks into school resumptions in the National Triangle, Nalova Lyonga, Minister of Secondary Education, made an impromptu stop in some schools and sites in the Limbe 1, 3 and West Coast subdivisions over the weekend. Her short-lived visit, which unveiled her plan to construct a befitting structure for the Young Government Technical College in Bimbia, which opened its doors last academic year with an enrollment of over 40 students. On her visit to the site, where construction work will begin in the days ahead, she applauded the community for welcoming government to their land and encouraged them to continue supporting government efforts to produce leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah, well, when I go back, I'm going to try to see what money we can have for the Director of Financial Services. If we can have some little money that we can send in, yes, to start some preliminary work, it will be good. Then we will do so.
The community is very enthusiastic and optimistic, and considering the support and collaboration that they are receiving from the administration, they really look forward to a wonderful structure here for their children. this already is an indicator that they are willing and ready to support
Yes. And talking about the community, I really want to thank the community so much. I mean, we're giving you the school, but you have to show us and tell us that you're ready to receive the government here. And I've heard so many cries about the absence of the school here, and that is why I made the point for it to be created. And so we created it. So I want to thank them. I should apologize for coming in such an impromptu fashion. For me, it wasn't that we should do a well laid out event. That wasn't important. It was important for me to know that when I'm talking in the budget session, I know that I'm talking about a place that exists. Because as far as I'm concerned, it was still in the air. Although from the enthusiasm, I said, let's create it so that people we should not lose momentum, so we did. But now that I have seen it, I have something to say to the budget committee. So please excuse me, even the SDO did not know until today or yesterday.
The regional delegate told him just 1 hour ago. That's when the regional delegate knew about it.
I'm so sorry about it. As I said, I've been working in Douala.
2 weeks into school resumption, the East region of Cameroon has heartedly embraced the school year with effectiveness. Details of the story with Wami Emilienne in the French language.
Cela fait déjà plus d'une semaine que l'année scolaire 2019-2020 a débuté et dans presque toutes les régions du Cameroun, la plupart des élèves ont déjà pris le taureau par les cornes. Ici, dans l'arrondissement de Doumé, situé à environ 50 km de Bertois, chef-lieu de la région de l'Est, malgré la timidité observée dans les différents établissements publics, le privé, par contre, a réellement démarré depuis le premier jour de la rentrée scolaire. C'est d'ailleurs ce qu'on observe ici au collège de la salle de Doumé, où enseignants et élèves n'ont pas manqué au rendez-vous.
Le jour de rentrée scolaire dans l'étendue du territoire national, selon les instructions du ministre de l'enseignement secondaire, conjointement avec le ministère de l'enseignement de base. La rentrée au collège de la salle de Doumé est effective. Au collège de la salle, les élèves étaient déjà là ce matin à 7h, 7h15 pour la levée des couleurs, la prière, l'exécution de l'hymne national. Et puis le mot, bien évidemment, du principal que je suis pour lancer cette année ici au collège de la salle de Doumé. Et nous avons placé cette année scolaire sous le symbole, voilà, sous le signe de l'excellence scolaire. Et qu'on entend par excellence scolaire, pas juste les résultats, n'est-ce pas, au niveau des examens fin d'année, mais que tous les maillons, n'est-ce pas, de notre cadre éducatif, enseignants, n'est-ce pas, les structures, le matériel et les élèves, soient d'abord des élèves excellents dans leur comportement, dans leur manière d'être, dans leur manière d'agir. Et là, nous mettrons l'accent sur la discipline. Et en fin de compte, alors, les résultats pourront venir couronner, n'est-ce pas, ce que nous allons appeler en fin de compte l'excellence scolaire.
Selon le sous-préfet de l'arrondissement de Doumé, aucun incident n'a été enregistré dans les différents établissements scolaires de la localité et les compatriotes des deux régions en crise, notamment celles du nord-ouest et du sud-ouest, sont très bien accueillis comme tous citoyens camerounais.
Nous avons trouvé tous les chefs d'établissement à notre passage et aussi le feedback qui nous revient des équipes que nous avons commises pour sillonner les autres établissements. Tout le corps enseignant est présent et c'est aussi l'occasion pour moi de les féliciter malgré parfois les conditions un peu difficiles dans lesquelles certains exercent. C'est l'occasion pour moi de les féliciter et de lancer aussi un appel à l'endroit de la hiérarchie pour que, autant que possible, si les effectifs du corps enseignant peuvent être relevés dans certains établissements.
Tous les élèves qui jusqu'à présent n'avaient pas encore pris le train en mars sont donc encouragés par ces mots à se mettre au pas. Les retardataires pourraient avoir des surprises désagréables en fin d'année car qui veut aller loin ménage sa monture.
You're watching the 7:45 Prime News on My Media Prime. We now move over to the northwest region of Cameroon, where some inhabitants of the northwest region of Cameroon have joined their peers nation and worldwide to celebrate the International Day of Intellectual Property and Climate Change. This day was celebrated with the theme Intellectual Property and Climate Change. Details with Charles Kebwa in the northwest region of Cameroon.
The Northwest region joined their peers nationwide to celebrate the International Day of Intellectual Property under the theme Intellectual Property and Climate Change. Sustainable Run for Development, SEDODEV Executive Director Carrie B. Jackson said the theme Intellectual Property and Climate Change is timely given his organization is dedicated to transforming rural livelihood, poor environment, and agricultural landscapes through promoting sustainable agriculture, climate-smart crops, entrepreneurship, and agripreneurship.
You know, one of the SDGs has to do with this technology and how we use it to sustainably manage even in towns, cities. Technology is a very, very primordial element in development and in the face of climate change.
He said reducing ecological degradation through conservation of biodiversity, waste management, and promotion of renewable energy will enhance climate adaptation, where in local and poor communities around Cameroon will enable manage their resources in a manner that will not disturb the future generations from meeting their own need, and appeal to the government to...
I think the government has a pivotal role to play when it comes to intellectual property. Yes, creativity. Our young guys are coming up in a special way. I know of a business hub, an apps village somewhere around Boya. I know of a lot of guys who have come in consortiums, you know, to bring in each technologies that will help each other to progress. But how do you ensure that you're right and protected? I think it's still very questionable. This is what makes some of them, you know, they don't actually meet up their thresholds. I think the government should regulate this, especially with the youth, so that they can find meaning in what they do.
He said reducing ecological degradation through conservation of biodiversity and waste management, so promotion of renewable energy will enhance climate adaptation. Concluding that SEDODEV Sustainable Run Development aim at drilling young students and people despite the ongoing crisis on different aspects of climate change, environmental protection, and sustainable development.
With the continuous depletion of the ozone layer, individuals have been cautioned on the need to protect and preserve the ozone layer. Instituted by the United Nations, 16th September is observed yearly as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. Details in the following report.
Commemorating the date of the signing of the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer, September 16 is observed yearly worldwide as the International Day for the Preservation of the Ozone Layer. This day was designated in 1994 by the United Nations General Assembly as a reminder to the roles of every individual in protecting the ozone layer. The closure of the hole in the ozone layer was observed 30 years after the protocol was signed. Due to the nature of gases responsible for ozone depletion, chemical effects are expected to continue for between 50 to 100 years. The ozone layer is a fragile sheet of gas that protects the Earth from the sun's ultraviolet radiation. It contains high concentration of ozone in relation to other parts of the atmosphere.
Ozone layer is that layer in the sky, I hope, just to protect Earth against sun rays. Sun rays, yes, the kind of protection of humanity.
After 32 years of the Montreal Protocol, the ozone layer is still on the mend. Humans have a responsibility to save their home or risk losing it. Industries emitting poisonous waste directly to the ozone layer is one amongst the many reasons for the depletion.
On parlait de la protection de la couche d'ozone, qui est cette couche-là qui nous protège contre les rayons ultraviolets du soleil et qui garantit la survie de l'humanité. Donc aujourd'hui, il est question davantage d'attirer l'attention des industries, des entreprises et à davantage travailler sur les méthodes et techniques propres de production. C'est-à-dire qu'il faut limiter les effluents, les rejets industriels dans la nature, que ce soit dans les eaux, que ce soit dans l'atmosphère.
According to environmentalists and the United Nations, this crack in nature could lead to serious crises in the future, from health to social difficulties. The thinning of the ozone destroys the flora, fauna, and even the human skin. Under the call of the United Nations General Assembly, everyone is obliged to take up the responsibility of preserving the ozone layer for a safe future of the Earth. We talk sports. The local organizing committee of the CHAN 2020 and 2021 AFCON has been made public. The members of the sports committee were appointed in a recent communique signed by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education. Details with sportsman Michuge Stanley.
The 11-man committee, headed by Cameroon's Minister of Sports and Physical Education, have the daunting task as local organizing committee members to give Cameroon a befitting 2020 CHAN and the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations. Barely 3 months to the 2020 CHAN, the Narcisse Moulekombi-led committee will have to ensure that the venue, logistics, communication, transportation, amongst others, which will be needed in the 16-team championship, is readily available. The other members of the local organizing committee include Vice President Seydou Bombon Joyam, Special Advisor Issa Hayatou, Abubakar Alim Konate, and Osi Joshua Nabangi, First and Second Vice President of FECAFOOT, Akini Benoit Raoul, Benga Zaki Robert, Disake Mbarga Michel, both from the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education, Etogo Jean-Claude, Ewane Francois Felix, and Nanak Tonye David from CAF. As host of the tournament, many Cameroonian sports bookmakers have been expressing their desire to see Cameroon lift the trophy. Surprisingly, the technical bench of the under-20 national male football team is still vacant. The Professional Football League is still in shambles. Players and football club officials are patiently waiting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, time will tell, because time remains the best judge.
We have come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. But before we go, a reminder of our top stories. Legal practitioners under the Cameroon Bar Association have started their announced sit-in strike despite all measures by the Cameroon government to keep them in the courtroom. The local organizing committee of the CHAN 2020 and 2021 AFCON has been made public. The news was produced by Ewane Eli, coordinated by Lasha Kinsley. My name is Genda Pelge Blanche King. Thanks for staying with us. Join us tomorrow, God willing, same time at 7:45 for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Stay tuned. The second part of Prime Hour continues with Kum Leonard and his panelists. Good night.
Higher Institute of Professional Studies is offering a platform for zealous young persons to procure an education of reputable standards to fit into today's competitive job markets. With effective bilingual education and 22 years of experience, Access HIPS offers HND, bachelor and master's programs in management, legal affairs, shipping, logistics and transport management, accountancy, and a lot more. Admissions are currently going on, and you can contact the numbers 652-971-020 or 679-441-072. Access HIPS, creating and molding professionals for quality jobs. Seeking a career in agriculture? Consider St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture, where students can build their interest in various farming systems by tailoring their study of agriculture to production, processing, and marketing agribusinesses, making them job providers and not seekers. St. Louis Higher Institute of Agriculture offers relevant practical education developed and delivered by experts and teachers who believe in teaching by demonstration. St. Louis Complex also offers through its Higher Institute of Medical Studies professional HND in nursing, midwifery, physiotherapy, pharmacy technology, medical lab sciences, dental therapy, radiology, and ultrasonography. We are located at Bonaberin Double opposite Nestle. Contact us on 678-435-138 or 677-764-674.
Being one of more than 200 majors of HIPMAT, I am proud of my success. It all began at HIPMAT.
I am a CEO. I coach and lead a team of salespeople. I don't hesitate to tell them the vision was planted and molded by HIPMAT.
Today, I stand on a pedestal of experienced and committed lecturers. The foundation was laid by HIPMAT.
For over a decade, HIPMAT's credibility and ministerial recognition have trained more than 15,000 professionals in business management and engineering from HND to BTech, MBA, and what have you. With an outstanding partnership with the University of Bamenda for BTech and MBA programs, our undoubted commitment to your show's success is a reflection of the future you painted. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, HIPMAT, a university for professionals.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are going to continue our discussions on the situation, economic situation prevailing in the northwest and southwest region, especially with respect to economic operators who are finding it very difficult to survive. Many of them are relocating to the center, to the littoral west and other regions to start up afresh so that they can make ends meet and survive, to take care of their families and others who were working previously under them. Before we went on the break for the news, we were discussing on the situation vis-a-vis making the best opportunities of what is happening, like Mr. Mofo was saying, that this is an opportunity for people to start strategizing on investing better after the war. But with the exonerations and encouragement from the state of Cameroon for people to go invest in the northwest and southwest region, is it possible with the prevailing security situation?
It's possible, but they will be there, because he who is in normal senses, who thinks clearly, will not go and invest in a war-stricken zone. But we cannot call it, we continue calling it crisis, but I think it is war. And Mr. Mufo rightfully said earlier that maybe it was a conspiracy that the Power Cam and the other companies that were operated in the northwest and the southwest were closed down by the government. I think that was a strategy to ensure the movement of people from the northwest and the southwest to other regions of the country to look for greener pastures. And that alone left this region, these two regions, in total dismay. People who are there, they struggle only with famine. Because when you look critically, you see that the only investors that invest mostly in the Northwest are investors who invest in education. So apart from the education, which companies are there that can employ the youth? Here I've always said people go to school. When they come back to their region, they are talented, they have something to offer. But where will they be given the opportunities to offer all what they have studied? At the end of the day, they realize that the only way out for them is to fall bush. And we have seen the brain drain. They are moving every day they are going. So, and those who don't have the means to move now look up to the other region as a superior to their own region. Meanwhile, we also have potentials. We have minerals. We have things that can keep us moving. But unfortunately, the only companies we could hold on was the CDC, the Pamol, and the Sonaral. Meanwhile, we even go to the Sonaral, the Anglophone was still complaining that they were not seeing themselves there. Now, they're moving down to these other regions is no news because it has always been it has always been the case. Some of us, I left my village since 1999. If my village was good, I wouldn't have left my village. I left to come here and look for greener pastures. Until today, I'm here. So I am hoping that village becomes an El Dorado tomorrow, so that I can also go there and see how I will invest and make the place better.
Who makes the village an El Dorado?
I. When we are given the chance to do that.
But you left since 1999. That who is going to do that?
If you give me the impression that Yaoundé and Douala are where things happen, these are where companies are, these are where money is easy to come by. What do you expect me? I follow that direction. That's why you see.
Is there not enough land for you to open up a farm in the village and start up?
So imagine me now, a farmer in the village with a small short trouser or bus trousers, moving from my home to the farm every day, carrying firewood on my head, and my wife with falling breast, carrying a corn in the back to come and prepare in the evening, eat and drink, shower and sleep. Is that the type of family you are talking about here? Talk about farming. People who have shown interest in farming, how have they been encouraged to do this farming? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. Because we keep on talking, the head of state spoke the other time very well. He talked about farming, but where have we gone up till now? So that's what we are talking about. It's not all about bringing good policies. It's bringing good policies and putting measures in place to see that those policies are followed up and make sure that they reach the final goal.
Okay. Now we saw in that report economic operators in Kumba faced with the law where the government delegate expects them to keep their shops permanently open, and on the other side, separatists want them to respect ghost town. Can we see the economic operators in the Northwest and the Southwest regions are caught between two walls where you either respect the government and the separatists?
It's a fact. They are caught between two walls that anywhere you go is dangerous, because when the separatists declared the lockdown, they respected, and towards the end of the week, the SDO, I think it's the SDO, declared a continuation of a lockdown, and thereby legalizing the first one, so to say. And it gives the people a very uncomfortable sitting position, because whatever decision they take, because remember, the SDO took the decision and the military helped the implementation. Whereas when the separatists took their own decision, they were there. They are always on ground to make sure that it is implemented. So it becomes a very dangerous situation and scare away investor, like Mr. Tamfu was saying there, and that the environment is not there. And there is no businessman in his right senses that wants to invest where it is war-torn, Because in business, when you are investing somewhere, we are talking about availability of raw materials. If my economics, class 3 economics book does not fail me, raw materials, security, labor, and market. But if you want to talk about the Northwest and Southwest now, the market is dead, the labor is gone, the security is nowhere to be found. So the people are just there. In fact, any direction they follow is a dangerous one. And that's why you see everything creeping down.
Okay, every direction they take. Now, Mr. Mofo, you say we shouldn't sit lamenting all day, crying all day, that we should see in this war or the crisis as an opportunity to better strategize, to spring back and do better business after the conflict is over.
Of course. You see, again, one of the things that most people have not been highlighting in course of this, that they attribute the people who are financing this war. You know, this is the same money that they could have also used to buy machinery, and they're using it to fight the war. I think one of the reasons is because we have some obnoxious law like the Nationality Code that prohibit double nationality. I think if the government really exploited the double nationality code, which is like given to people based on their proximity to government, because unfortunately is a type of law that at times one is tempted to ask whether it is actually balanced, because there are certain persons who have actually declared themselves having double nationality and nothing is happening to them, and they are enjoying those status and even voting with all the glamour of the camera to indicate that they have double nationality. And nobody leaves his home and is staying in another person's home and he or she is happy. One of the reasons why the diaspora, they are doing what they are doing, is also part of the frustration that there is no reason why you will, because of some reason of economic survival, you go out there to mobilize resources and you want to come back to your own country, you are expected to pay visa fee to enter your own country because you went for some economic adventure. And so this anger with the diaspora population is actually being transformed now to using it now to start requesting now that I think the better way to go is to have what we will call them two countries where they can be able to influence. Because you might be thinking that it's just about economics, but the people who make the policy, they are politicians. And if you have lost your nationality, you cannot participate in the policy development that will enhance economic development, because the laws that we are talking about today, the general tax code or the budget and the rest, they are all voted in parliament. And if you cannot, because you have lost your nationality, go to parliament, it already creates an element of anger in you, and you are going to do everything. Probably if you look at, I was listening to a gentleman who went out to some of those European countries to get the views of the diaspora population, and he was saying that if there is one recurrent request that the diaspora population were actually requesting, besides the fact that they want the current government to go away, the second most important request was the issue of double nationality. And if you look at examples like countries in West Africa, specifically Senegal, 30% of their GDP is generated by Senegalese who are out of the country because they enjoy the double nationality. And honestly, like I said, I think if I was to join a political party today, that would be my own condition for joining, to let them take that as a central element in their lobby to advocate for double nationality. Because how do you explain the fact that you have one town in Europe having more medical doctors, more than all the medical doctors in Cameroon? And these are all people, paradoxically, who were trained in this country. It definitely generates an element of anger and frustration. And you see these guys, when they have an opportunity to even create all type of havoc, they will do all of that. There are people who left this country in 1992 when the university crisis broke up and they were dismissed from the university. They went out and sort of trekked through the desert. Now they are taking a second nationality. And by Cameroon nationality law, if you take another nationality, you lose your Cameroonian nationality. I don't think that this is fair, because the human being is a traveling person, and at one particular moment, all what we are looking for is comfort. I don't see that a Frenchman or an American will be more favored in this country more than a Cameroonian, because he took a simple paper outside there by way of economic survival, because these guys needed these documents to be able to get jobs or unemployment out there. And that just a temporary. It doesn't change the fact that your blood, your root is still in Cameroon.
Mr. Mofo, are you still in line with the question I asked?
You were asking whether
whether people back home should be looking at possibilities of...
Of course, because what you know,
they
one
are
of
only
the things,
dwelling on the
no, one
diaspora.
of the, I'm saying the investment. They need capital inflow. And that capital inflow, machinery, and all of that is coming from outside. That is what they call foreign direct investment. We have the population, we have the soil, but that itself does not multiply itself. So they will need capital, machinery, and they will need intellect. Because all those IT and all of that, those are all technology that when the Chinese are coming to construct, how do you explain the fact that you have a regional hospital, and then when an element breaks down, they will still get the Chinese technician to come and repair it. You go to a multiple stadium or whatever that was built in Douala, Yaoundé.
Even the one in Limbe.
Up to today, they break down. They will still get. But there are Cameroonians outside there who can do all of these things and do it even better, because they have Cameroonian blood in them. And these people, like I said, there is no person who is happy leaving his country and going to say...
Okay, let's take some messages from those watching us. My brother with the red tie, people don't respect Ghost Town. They are afraid to go out. Point of correction. Joe is writing from Boya. Good evening to you, Joe. We are glad to know that you are watching us from the City of Excellence. Good evening to all panelists. Most of these boys were employed in the motorbike sector. Unfortunately, their bikes have been or are being burnt or seized by the military and their homes razed. Frustrated, they were or are being pushed to join armed groups. This is one of the immediate causes, not the root cause, of the economic and socio-political quagmire we find ourselves in today. The burning and looting businesses, systematic lockdowns by separatists has also led to this mess. The military should restrain from collateral punishment on the population. Teacher Derek is writing from Bamenda, that is in the northwest region. Greetings to everyone in the panel. It is true that the northwest and southwest regions are facing economic recession. 90% of businesses in the northwest and southwest, if not facing serious budget deficits, then budget contraction and business shutdown. Only Mr. Biya can put an end to this crisis through a genuine inclusive dialogue with all parties, including the separatists, because they are the main drivers in this crisis. Sydney is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Kum. I am calling from Guti. I am Mr. Takang Tabe, a company Kafeku, the only wood transformation unit in the southwest and northwest regions, employing more than 300 workers, has closed down due to the crisis. So the dialogue will automatically bring back 300 jobs in Guti town. Thanks for that. Okay, Mr. Takang, we all pray that things actually get back to normalcy for the good of everybody. Good evening. For me, I think that there should be free education in the northwest and southwest regions given by the government due to the fact that parents have no means to sponsor their children, and we pray that this dialogue should bring peace. Is Ivans writing from Bamenda. Please, can I know the fees for health institutions in St. Louis, Douala, please? I will send you the information later on. Shout out to you all in the studio. To have this problem solved, we need legal minds who are Anglophones, that will stand for the future of Anglophones. If this is not done, the Anglophones will be dragged into mud. I'm David from Likumba in Tiko. Good evening, panelists. I'm Linus in Fiango. I like the program. That young man there have a point. Okay. Good evening to you in the studio. I am Sony from Boya. The economic losses in the northwest and southwest regions due to the crisis is enormous, but the effects spread across the entire nation. All we need now is peace so these two regions can take their right shape in the economic sphere. Hello televiewers, Cameroon is faced with a serious historical problem of legality of unionship, with total use up of power on the one hand, solved by more of the God-fearing legal minds on the dialogue table. Daniel Smith writing from Victoria, that should be in Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I am of the view that the originality and authenticity of the preliminary talks called by the Prime Minister with stakeholders is vulnerable to questioning. My reason is, why was the national dialogue called? I am Noah, writing from Limbe. Why the president realized the Amber leaders, release the Amber leaders, called Ashu Vitalis, writing from Douala. Evening, Mr. Leo, we enjoy your program. Tell Mr. Mofo to look at the audience. It's a mail from Jotin. Mr. Mofo has gotten you. He'll be looking at you. Good evening to all the panelists. Where was Southern Cameroon on the 1st of January 1960? Okay. For me, the bridge builder is writing from Bamenda. Good evening in the studio. I'm Annabelle from Kumba. May your happiness increase like fuel price in Ghana. Your trouble fall like Zimbabwe dollar. Okay. Your love and joy increase like corruption in Cameroon. Your enemies struggle like they need British visa. Okay. Thank you for that message. I would not like to read the end. Hello, I am writing from Kumba. I am glad to air the view through your platform. I just want to state clear that Biya is not serious and he is not willing to put an end to the present war. My question to him is, does he need to kill so many before calling for his so-called dialogue? Suddenly, Anglophones' crisis has become a national issue, whereas this same issue has never been discussed in the parliament. But today, we are calling for a national dialogue, whereas Francophones. Okay. Can we remain civil when we write, please? We are talking of democracy, tolerance, peace, and we should equally act and practice what we preach every day. Tamfu, Mr. Jones, the economic situation is seriously not good. The government has done something, says they are giving tax exoneration. What should the government do practically to guarantee investment now and after the crisis is solved?
I would say the government is doing the right thing at the wrong time. This is something that if they have done earlier, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, but we are
because
already
if
here.
there was tax exoneration, people would have come in with the machines.
Yeah, but we are already here. Let's look at
we are already here, and if you don't diagnose and you know the sickness you have, you will end up treating symptoms, as my brother earlier said. By the time we don't know what causes this trouble, we cannot solve it. We are facing what we are facing today because the government has failed from the beginning. You look critically, you realize that investors even come in here. Some individuals who don't want this country to move forward decide, because they have not received anything into their pocket, to discourage the investors with taxes and conditions. And this has made it so difficult that the country is where it is today. Because you cannot tell me that this country that has been so peaceful over the years, we don't have companies that are manufacturing. We only say, as Mr. Mufo rightfully said earlier, that they still export palm fruit. In this very century, it is terrible. Those are things that we have been processed here. I don't understand the type of gain negotiation they do diplomatically. Those are the type of things that we have said that if you are coming to Cameroon as a friend, you come to Cameroon, open a company that we produce here in this country.
Yeah, Mr. Tamfu, the government has started by doing that. What practically do you want the government?
After how many years must you wait for people to die before you start doing the thing?
What are you saying? That nothing should be done?
What I am saying is that what should be done now, what the government should concentrate on now is solving this problem. As I heard someone who said that the thing was not discussed in the National Assembly. It's a shame. They bypass, first of all, they came and announced the dialogue, bypassed it, and they started preaching back to school. Now back to school has failed. They have now called the dialogue. We should stop jumping and then running away from the main issue. This dialogue was provoked by the war in the Northwest and the Southwest. I think that the war in the Northwest and the Southwest should be the main thing discussed in this dialogue. When that problem is solved, if they want a national dialogue, they should call for a national dialogue and solve the problem that is facing the whole Cameroon. I think now that we have a particular problem, because by the time we make this dialogue national, we will not arrest this problem in the Northwest and the Southwest. Because every Cameroonian will say they have a problem.
Can I cue you again?
Cue me.
Okay. You say we must fix everything before we move forward.
Yes.
Should people not eat today because there is a problem? Should children not go to school because there's a problem?
Investment is not all about eating. These people have not been eating. Have they not been eating for more than 50 years now?
Are your children going to school or not?
Children going to school?
Your children.
The ones that went to school. Where are they?
Your children.
My children?
Yes.
My children are going to school.
Okay.
Look, listen. I know why I would like to bring something to the viewers. Mr. Kum.
Yes.
There's this thing of children going to school that people have been criticizing.
No, because
now when you talk about my children going to school,
I asked the question because
are the children of the president going to school? Are the children of the ministers going to school? Are the children of the DOs and the officials, that means the governors in these two regions, are they going to school? Where are they going to school? I have been in Douala. I told you I have been in Douala since 1999. You will not tell me that I should go and send my children in the school in the Northwest and the Southwest. No, I know where you are going to. No, this is the question that we have answered on several occasions.
I raised the question because I asked a different question and you jumped into the back to school campaign.
Everything is related.
They were doing the back to school campaign because people like some of us and you, yes, our children are going to school and they see no reason why our children should be going to school while others are not going.
My children were going to school here before the crisis. So you don't want that during the crisis? I have never said that children should not go to school. They should go to school.
Let me return the question to you. Practically, the government has started with tax exoneration. There is a situation. What should the government accompany the people of the Northwest and Southwest with practically? Like a televiewer is saying that, okay, for example, children should not pay fees in these two regions because financially speaking, the parents cannot afford sending them to school.
I want to think that for over 3 years counting, everything has not been the best, and the economy of these two regions, southern Cameroons, to be precise, has been dwindling. And one of the things the government can do, if they can listen, is to give free education to everyone, so that it will even give a free movement for those people who are here or who have gone to other regions to go back home, knowing that they can school. Because when you are outside from your ecosystem, when you're outside where you have to fend for everything, you have to pay for everything, it becomes quite difficult to survive. And secondly, when we talk about this thing, I want to go after the words of Joshua Usi, who said that the President of the Republic is a man of big announcement and no actions afterwards. If truly what they plan to do will come to fruition, it will be good. And then they have to do everything possible to reduce unemployment. especially to the people of those regions who have already found a new way of life and have become very okay with the status quo. So they must have, the government have to go back, create industries as much as possible so that people get involved in doing something, because you know that most often they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. The devil tempts everybody, but idle people tempt the devil. That is why people have been idle over the years, and what came and found them, they embrace it because they had nothing to distract them. And secondly, the government, you realize that in the northwest and southwest region, there has been a rise in poverty. And like Mr. Mufo said at the beginning, it's a calculated attempt sometime because the people have been ripped off. If you want to really check the economic strength of the southern Cameroons, today called Northwest and Southwest by baptism of name, you realize that they bake everything and they bake everything. They have the flour, they have the oven, but they bake always. That is because, how can you explain that Supermont is produced in Boya, sold for 400, 450, and we buy it here in Douala for 350. All those things. So the government has to come back to its senses, and then the tax exoneration has to be very clear. To me, it should not be only for startup. It should go back to the base. In fact, people should reconstitute their businesses and make it all a startup.
Should the government not bring back structures like water, give more impetus to structures like the UNVDA to create better or greater job opportunities for the young people of these areas?
I want to tell you this. If there was a prayer point that the southern Cameroonians have been praying for that much, is that what has been stolen should be restored. And all what you are calling is what had been stolen, what was ripped off from them. So if the government really loves them, to bring them back, the Cameroon Bank, the PWD, the Public Works Department, the Southern Cameroonians by history, I didn't leave it. The Southern Cameroonians by history that I read, they will tell you that when there was a problem in the road in Kumba, the Public Works Department will have to work without you having to write to the central government. That was because everything was organized. So the government should bring back that.
Mofo, I don't know whether he leaves it. He can explain better, but let's take some text messages, a few of them. Good evening. I love this problem, but my point here, separative leaders are not out to engage in the dialogue. Them are the complainers, and what is wrong? They will be a national dialogue. That's a message. I've read it as you sent. Okay. He says, okay, please don't bring people who don't master the subjects, because the channel is watched internationally. Okay, I'm sure not everybody is good night to everyone in the studio. I'm enjoying the program. So the dual nationality laws applies only to grassroots citizenship. We got a lot of Franco-Cameroonais ruling us in the name of Cameroonian government. Many government officials have dual nationality. Is God will, writing from Yaoundé. Good evening, my good panelists. In my opinion, the list of personalities Mr. Liu just read are supposed to be observers of the dialogue, if at all. The dialogue is supposed to be between the protagonists. God bless you all. Eva Dawo, writing from Muya in Boya. Please don't call. Stop calling, please. We cannot take a call during this program. Good evening to you all in the studio. There is nothing this CPM government can do to help this country. They just think only about their selfish interest. Good evening to you all in the studio. There is nothing. Oh, I read this one already. Good evening, dear panelists. Please, let's try and encourage a way forward. Please, if we keep pulling without a pushing, things won't change. Mr. Kum, this our government is a major problem too. Though there are other minor lapses. Emma is writing from Kumba. We learned about what Menchum Falls can do to the whole of West Africa. It can help Southern Cameroonians. Romeo is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Don't you think that the PM's meeting with the various private and public stakeholders is already the dialogue? I say so because stakeholders' opinions may be rounded up as the dialogue. Meanwhile, to the best of my knowledge, the dialogue was to be between the government and the Anglophones. Moses is writing from Bamenda. Your program is an interesting one. Wish the problems come to an end. Forward Delphine. My greetings to Song Derek. Okay. Good evening to you all in the studio. There is nothing. Well, you keep sending this message already. I've read it. Good evening to you all in the studio. I love your program. Please, Mr. Leo, can you give the man with the dark hat talk, please? I'm Lawrence from Kumba. I don't know. Okay. I have to moderate, please. I have to moderate. We cannot just talk also. Good evening. I'm Pepe from Tico. Let's learn to appreciate what Mr. Bia has done. First, we cried for dialogue. Now, dialogue has been called, yet we are still complaining. Rather, let's put hands on deck. Hope for the best. We move back to the newsroom to get what the newspapers had for their readers today.
Greetings everyone and thanks for joining us on In the Press on Prime Hour. What is making news today in Cameroon? National dialogue called by President Paul Biya continues to make headlines in the papers. We begin with Le Gideon newspaper, which carries details of the exchanges between SDF First Vice Chairman Honorable Osei Joshua and the Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Diongute at the Star Building, prelude to the national dialogue called by President Paul Biya. Askawala CPP describes President's speech as deceptive and inaccurate. Professor Tita Samuel-Fong questions her legitimacy to comment on the speech on behalf of CPP party, while the Horizon sees the call for a national dialogue as a golden opportunity for Anglophones to close ranks and make best of it. The paper also carries reactions on the national dialogue from Cardinal Tumi, Peter Ngufo El Ash, UN Secretary General, Akere Muna, Northwest Governor, Patrick Ekema, and a host of others. On to the Post newspaper. The paper reports that the population of the junction town Mutengene in the southwest region of Cameroon are still in shock after the cocoa farm massacre. On the call for national dialogue, the Post says the SDF party has tabled preliminary conditions to the PM as regards the upcoming national dialogue, such as the exclusion of the military from the dialogue, ceasefire, general amnesty, neutral personality to chair the dialogue, amongst other things. The Guardian Post, on its part, focuses on the financial crisis in the Ambazonian interim government. The paper quotes the Ambazonia communication boss, Chris Anu, as warning, contribute to independence struggle or we surrender to La République. The Sun saw the tough preconditions posed by the SDF party prelude to the national dialogue as preoccupying. Amnesty for Ayuk Tabe, neutral mediator are some of the conditions posed by SDF. The Sun also reports on the surprise visit of Minister Nalova Lyonga to some schools in Limbe last week. Northwest recovering from lockdown of untold hardship, torture, and murder, says the Sun newspaper. We end with the Star newspaper, which reports that after Biya's call for a major national dialogue, UN, Commonwealth of Nations, the European Union, ECAS have all welcomed the initiative but insist Ambazonia diaspora and armed groups should be involved in the talks. That does it for In the Press on Prime Hour.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you, Lasha Kingsley, for that report there reviewing the situation of the press as at this morning. We continue with our discussion for tonight that centers on the economic situation of economic operators in the Northwest and Southwest region, talking about the government giving a real push to people who supposedly are from the Northwest and Southwest region, who may be living in the littoral center, west regions, eyeing possibilities for them to go back and venture into businesses. What extra should the government do? Or they themselves should know that there are opportunities waiting for them out there after the crisis?
You know, when there was what we might also call an economic disaster in the U.S.
Yes.
During Obama's era, the state had to pump in monies to revive the economy, not by creating banks, not by creating businesses, but they gave monies to industrialists to actually revive their business. I think we are not asking the government so much if they could also repeat those good practices that had to turn around the American economy when they had that
the recession.
Because after all, the government is there so that when disaster happens, we invoke the spirit of solidarity that will entail that the state continues. And when the government decides, because at the end of the day, if the government is talking about exoneration, it means that there will not be any taxation for new in businesses. But like, we are also seemingly looking at it that we need capital to expand. And the banks are also dry now because there will be hesitant to also extend long-term loans to those who even want to go and invest in the Northwest and the Southwest. So I think that besides the exoneration, the government, we're making allusion to WADA and the other structures. Today, it's said that UNVG that produces rice is actually produced below its capacity because of absence of financial means to expand the farm and buy inputs and all of that. I think also, even with the corporations which are now also down, CDC and Pamol and other large scale, we are talking like this, we have not even talked about another agro-industrial complex like the Ndawara tea and all of those places. I think if the government could also expand and give these people some concessional assistance in terms of financial inputs and all of that, they could also be revamped and they generate employment, especially those institutions which are involved in production. Because here we are talking about transformation, not just necessarily producing what they call raw material and all of that. Because if you want to generate employment, the best thing to do is to go into transformation. That will generate multiple employment. And I want to say we should never ever lose hope, because what actually is happening is a necessary, what we might call a necessary transition. If you look at history, look at what happened after the Second World War in Europe. That was after 1945. Europe had the highest level of industrialization. That was actually an eruption or offshoot of the end of the, because of what we call the Marshall Plan. So it is, to me, it's not enough for us to talk about exoneration. We should also have a separate economic plan. I think part of the elements that is also found in the declaration of the head of state was talking about reconstruction. I don't think the reconstruction is going to be just
for houses.
Houses. That will not be enough, because at some point the people also need subsistence, and they will need some elements to start life all over again. So it will not be asking the state so much to go into a particular, why not call it a Zion plan? Instead of Marshall was a foreign secretary of state in the U.S. So John Gute could also propose a zone plan or Gute plan for Southwest and Northwest that is going to entail massive capital investments that is going to turn around, especially first the government structures like CDC and PAMOL, and then those structures which are potentials for growth. The government can also facilitate the purchase of materials and other heavy-duty equipment that will facilitate and enhance transformation of the raw materials which are abound. Southwest is noted for being the highest producer of cocoa beans. I think it is not asking too much for us to get the Limbe port or the Tico port to be functional for us to be transforming those cocoa beans into chocolate, and we start exporting to Nigeria and those other countries. And the potentials are there. So all of these things are issues for those, again, who will be called upon to go and be talking about the way forward after the crisis during this dialogue. Let them also push this as one of the conditions also for stability, because I have said we might be looking at it mildly, but one of the causes of this war was also as a result of poverty and unemployment.
Okay, you think same?
Not everything, but talking about industrialization and transformation, I agree with him that if something should be done with the economy of Cameroon, I think we should industrialize, we should start transforming. We should not end at the low level of producing raw materials. We look at our neighboring country, Nigeria, is already manufacturing cars. But here we are here in the name of assembling cars, so I think that it's time for us to move. Because when they say Cameroon is Africa in miniature, it means that anything that is done in Africa can be done in Cameroon. Anything that's available in Africa is available in Cameroon. So those things, those good things, I don't want the bad ones that are happening elsewhere in Africa, I think they should happen here too.
And they should be regionalized in the Northwest and Southwest region?
Talking about it, if you know there are errors that we commit and the consequences become very disastrous. When you take an A4 paper, a sheet, and you squeeze it, you rough handle it, even if you iron it at the end of the day, it will never become straight as it was in the beginning.
I did not get a sense out of it.
I think the viewers are getting the sense.
You think that the Northwest is not going to develop at a galloping rate like he was saying?
I'm trying to say Cameroon will never be the same again.
Okay.
Yeah, with what Mr. Mufo is saying, I think he really analyzes. In fact, he has given a summarized summary of the truth. What we really need to do is that if you go to a place like Manfei that produces cocoa beans, if a chocolate company is set up there, you go to Pamol, if a soap manufacturing company is set up there, if you go to CDC to produce tires, we want to think that if the government really wants to do something, because when you talk about location and localization of industries, there are factors. Sometimes we talk about it should be closer to the source of raw materials, sometimes closer to the market. If you really check the Southern Cameroon economy, we have been reduced to be consumers. If there are 8 million Southern Cameroonians, we have been reduced to be proud consumers. But this time around, why not make the people to become producers? That the government should take everything closer to them. The industry should be beside the people. Like I earlier pointed out, the devil tempts everybody, but idle people tempt the devil.
Okay.
If you keep them so busy and then bring these industries to them, make them to work at a complete capacity. Don't make them to work at 30%. I mean, at least 80% capacity.
Okay.
Is going to help us a lot.
Many proposals are coming. Some people say free education should be declared in the two regions. This one says, good evening, dear panelists. We all know things are not moving well in the English zones. The government recently announced no tax, but for me, they can go beyond and even reduce rents from government-owned shops. Remy is writing from Bomenda. Remy, thank you for that proposal. Good evening, Leo. The dialogue will be for Cameroonians, not for the Facebook Republic of Ambazonians. Wish the Prime Minister the best in this task. The lawyers' strike is a known event. We have more important issues to handle now. Kum Elvis is writing from whom? Excuse me. Good evening to you all in the studio. If I can give my own opinion about the dialogue the president called, I will advise him to bring in foreign mediators and not his prime minister. Xavier is writing from Moyuka, that's in Fako division. Good evening to all. I think Mr. Tamfo is right because the problem should be solved. Secondly, the PM can come with his tax exoneration after ceasefire because no businessman can invest in a war zone whose motive is profits orientation. When considering business investment analysis, PESTEL analysis is taken into due consideration. I think my elder brother, Mr. Moffo, better knows what I'm saying. Sydney is writing from Bamenda. Okay, Sydney Gotten. Good evening, sir. I love this program, but my point here is that if separatist leaders are not released to engage in the dialogue, then who are the complainer and what causes the president to call for the national dialogue? And the national dialogue is for what? Stop the calls, please. Don't call. Send your text message, I'll read them. Greetings, panelists. It is said that as you fix your bed, so shall you lie on it. The government is declaring Northwest and Southwest an economic disaster zone today. What happened to the businesses that were booming in the southern Cameroon before 1961? Who will want to invest freely in a danger zone? The government must finish their fufu. Okay. Pa Abe is writing from Limbe. Rita from Bamenda says, good evening, Mr. Kum. Let's forget about the past and look forward. Okay. Rita, greetings to you all, the people in the house. I'm Mr. Ngwa James from Bamenda. What I have to say in this is that Mr. President has done well by calling for peace talks, and I have to make it clear to our people to give him a chance to perform what he has in mind, because he has not spoken like this since this struggle started. We should give him a chance, for he has decided to put an end to the problem in the country. No good thing that has no problem at the beginning. Thank you all. Thank you very much, Mr. Ngwa James from the hilltop town, Bamenda. How can someone say Facebook Republic? Unfortunately, this Facebook Republic has brought the other republic to its knees. Frank is writing from Bamenda. Greetings in the house. This has really dampened the economy of the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon. We all know that when there is war, there is destruction, and the economy of Cameroon is gradually failing. What happened in Europe, the Great Depression, should not repeat itself in Cameroon. Solutions should be looked into very fast. This is Che from Way. Okay, Che. Good evening to you. Good evening, Leo, and all in the studio. I think we all have given in more than enough of our energy in trying to help better this nation, especially through mediums like this. It is high time the layman like you and myself sit back and allow the stubborn government of this country handle issues the way they think is best, and we all see the outcome. Achere Ita writing from Sandpit in Boya. Good evening. I hope Gaga Aman won't be on the dialogue table. Is God will? We don't know. He's just being consulted. He's also a Cameroonian. Remember that it is called a Grand National Dialogue, so it's for everybody. The dialogue we don't want, Mr. Bia militant, is, I mean, the CPDM, because they said there is no Anglophone problem. We need Ayuk Tabe and co along with UN and other officials. And so, writing from Kumba, my name is Daniel from Boya. My prayer is for us to understand the importance of loving one another in times like this, no matter what. And this goes much to the youth of Cameroon. The future of this country lies in our hands, so let us act maturely in all we do. Think and talk for a better nation. We need, okay? We're out of time. We have to end here. Unfortunately, we cannot take all the messages. We are glad you were part of the show, Mr. Tamfu.
And thank you. Yes, we are really glad, and I would like to tell the people of the Northwest and Southwest that I feel our pain, and a big condolence to all of us who have lost a family member, a friend, a loved one. It is not easy, even with the lockdown. It's not easy, but at the end of the tunnel, there will be light.
Thank you for coming, Song Daniel. Derek.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum. It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me over. And my last words to the public and to the government is that they should not bring us smoke screen solutions. They won't help anything. They should not put off the fire with dry leaves. It will only create more havoc. And of course, to my brothers and sisters out there, we all want peace, but we don't want smoke screen peace.
Okay, we equally are very grateful for your presence and more for Mr. George.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is shared, and if there is a message that we want to be taken home to bed tonight, is a message of being hopeful that whatever happens, we are still to see the best in Cameroon, especially if we begin by having a positive mindset and know that nobody knows everything. All of us can contribute and build a sustainable and strong country.
We want to thank the production team, to the two Desmonds, and to you, Eli, who is producing the program, and to Corinne, who is at the broadcasting, to the management of My Media Prime. We say thank you, and thank you. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Institute of Professional Studies is offering a platform for zealous young persons to procure an education of reputable standards to fit into today's competitive job market. With effective bilingual education